Well, hello. My name is PC Walker, and I am a residence director in Northern California at Jessup University. And I've been doing student affairs for almost 20 years, whether that's working in student affairs in higher education or working as a college and young adult pastor or working with people in recovery. This has been a huge opportunity to just be with you all today, and I hope that a little bit of time together is something that you might take some encouragement from, that you can finish strong, especially those of you who might be upperclassmen who are looking down the end of your time here at whatever university you're serving at. I want to make sure that you leave here with full joy and with full hope for the future because of what you experienced and how you experienced your last couple years at your university. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how not to waste your time as a student leader. And regardless of whether you're an upperclassman or not, I want to make sure that student leaders are fully capable of leaving a legacy when they leave the university that they are at, that it should matter what kind of things you leave behind in your leadership and in your investment of yourself at your university. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, though, before I do that, as far as where I was when I first started at this university. At the university that I'm at, I work in the upperclassmen housing. So we have apartment housing for only upperclassmen. So only juniors and seniors are even allowed to live in the apartments. And when I first got this position, and I've been here working at Jessup for this is now my 8th year being a residence director, which is unheard of, I understand. But it's my 8th year. But when I got here 8 years ago, there was a culture that had already been established in the block. And the apartments that we live in and our apartment housing is called the block because looking at it from the outside, it looks like a block. So, very creative name that the students kind of came up with. But I live in the block, and I came here, and there was this culture among the RAs on our campus that had already been established before I ever got here. And this culture was that block RAs are transfers from the res halls. So we have traditional res halls where all of our underclassmen live, and then we have the apartment housing for our upperclassmen. And there was this culture that had become very common here at Jessup where students who were RAs in the underclassmen areas and the freshman areas would move over to the block when they became juniors or seniors, and they kind of had this expectation that it was the easy life. It was this opportunity for me to kind of fade out and to I did the hard work when I was a RA with res halls, but then I get to go over and live in the apartments and then kind of graduate and kind of fade out. It was like this idea that RAs went to the block to retire. And I was very quick to notice that this was the culture. And I wanted to put an end to that culture and that expectation. So I challenged my RAs that very first year, RAs that I had inherited from the year before, obviously. But I challenged them to say, like, this is not where you go to retire. Student leaders don't get to retire. Student leaders challenge themselves because they want to leave a legacy at the university where they went and where they are. And I challenge them to say that this year is not where you go to retire as an RA, but where you go to step up and to become a little bit different and to challenge yourself to finish strong and to become a better RA than you were the years before. And so that was a very big culture shift that we started to bring as my original team. And we created this shift in culture on our campus where we took the challenge to say, we're going to be different and we're not going to consider the apartment living as the way to just kind of fade out, but it's going to be the way where we actually leave a difference. And I want to give that challenge to you, regardless of what your student leadership position is. I want you to think about this next year, that you are in right now, and especially if you are a junior or a senior, this may be your last year as a student leader. I want you to think about, how do you want to finish? How do you want to complete your time as a student leader? And what do you want to leave behind in the way that people see you and recognize you and remember you? So, this is what I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through these four things in 20 minutes, and I want to make sure that I get through them very quickly so that you have plenty of time to ask some good questions, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you. But I'm going to talk about the upperclassman temptation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to move into an idea of the S curve of learning that I think is an excellent way of thinking about how you could challenge yourself. And I want to challenge you to disrupt yourself this year. Disrupt your comfort, disrupt who you are, who you think you are, and how you want to be, so that you can leave an incredible legacy behind you when you leave. And then I'm going to leave you with three takeaways that are easy to take from this time and to write down. So, first of all, there's this upperclassman temptation, right? Sometimes we call it senioritis, or I'm giving up. I have a resistance to hiring third year RAs. So we only allow obviously our RAs to be sophomores, because they can interview as a freshman to become an RA their sophomore year, and then we only have sophomores, juniors, and seniors. But some that are really good RAs could be an RA their sophomore, junior, and senior year. I'm very resistant to hiring third year RAs because I've watched it burn me several times, because students get to their upperclassmen, or they've been doing this for 3 years, and they kind of give up and they kind of fade out, and they don't have as much commitment as they did when they were a sophomore wanting this position. And there's a temptation for all upperclassmen to just kind of fade out their last year. And that is this mentality that we talked about with my original team. There was this culture becoming around, we just become upperclassmen so that we can retire as a student leader. I still get the scholarship, but I don't have to do as much work, and I can just kind of fade out over here. And I want to challenge you, if you have that mentality, to change that mentality, because that's the kind of mentality that lets you fade out, and then you have nobody that remembers the impact that you made because you faded out on the end. Because a legacy is left in how you finish. Because when you leave, if you leave as a graduating senior, the people who are still on campus will only really know what you contributed in that last year, in that last time, because that's all they saw. So when you leave, those new crop of students are only going to know what you were in that last year, and that's going to be the picture they have of your leadership. They weren't there when you had all the energy your freshman year, your sophomore year as a student leader. They weren't even there to see all of that. So really, your legacy is left in how you finish. And so as an upperclassman, if you are an upperclassman or becoming close to that, I want you to consider, how do you want to finish? Do you want to take the upperclassman temptation and just fade out and make the easy way and leave no legacy, because that's what people are going to remember about you, is that you just faded out at the end? Or do you want to challenge yourself to leave a legacy of impact and influence at the university where you have loved and you have served? There's this idea of an S curve. It's a sociological term originally, and then it has become something that they've become to use in education. And then I've seen a lot of people take this whole concept and actually use it for leadership and management. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the S curve is. I'm going to show you the S curve. This is the S curve of learning that people are using in their management and their training for leaders as they grow. The S curve essentially is saying that at the beginning, you start at your launch point when you first start a new job or you start a new position, and you want to learn everything you can. So you have all of the energy, you have all of the expectations. I want to learn everything I got to learn. And you're fully invested in learning what you have to do so that you can do this job well and that you can do this great. And then you jump to the end of the S curve up at this top point, up at the mastery, when I've learned everything I need to know about this position or what I'm doing right now. And I can do it with my eyes closed because I've been doing it for so long and I've learned everything. I've taken big risks and learned everything I need to know so that I can do this with my eyes closed. And some of you as upperclassmen may have reached this point. If you're really good leaders and you've been in your student leadership program since you were a sophomore or since you were even a freshman, you are graduating. I could do this job with my eyes closed. I know this place inside and out. And that's a mastery level. And what it would say, most people who use the S curve would say that if you are at the mastery level, there's a temptation to just kind of fade out or to say, I know how to do this so well, I could do it with my eyes closed, is where people start to get really bored with the job that they are. And then they don't even invest themselves. They don't give themselves as much at this mastery level. And the real sweet spot is that backside of the S curve when you're just flowing. I am on point with everything I'm doing. I'm still taking big risks and I'm still learning a little bit as I go, but I'm just really engaging and growing as a leader in this job or this role that I'm having. But over time, you get to the point where you've mastered it, and there's a temptation to just stay there, and you get really bored. And then now your supervisor is not even getting a good version of you because I could do this job with my eyes closed, so I'm going to actually do it with my eyes closed. And so it's no longer even fully engaged. You're not even fully available because I'm actually doing this job with my eyes closed. So part of this S curve is to say that at the beginning, uh, people are saying like you're finding ways to take big risks. I'm finding new hacks in how did I do this job. I'm challenging myself to say, hey, I'm going to make this different. I have all the energy to do different than I've ever done before. And so you start developing in the backside of that curve. I'm developing new skills as a leader that I didn't even know I had. And I'm continually growing on that backside of the curve. And then when we get up to the upside of the curve, we start to say, I don't need to take big risks because I already know how to do this job. I'm doing it on autopilot. And you stay in your comfort zone because it's easy and you can just do that without actually challenging yourself. And you start to fade out and you start to take the upperclassman temptation to just fade out and retire instead of actually challenging yourself. And the people who would use this S curve would say that the real challenge that you should be doing if you're a manager and you find that you have employees or you have people who are that you're leading are reaching that mastery point, you have to challenge them to either leave and go find a new curve for the betterment of themselves so that they can challenge themselves, go back to the bottom of the S curve, find some new excitement for a different job or a different role, or you need to make them jump to a new curve. So jumping to a new curve is a challenge, it's a risk, but it needs to either be a new curve in your organization, jump to a new role, learn a brand new role so that I can get more excitement from you for what you're doing, or do you need to jump to a completely different organization because we no longer have roles for you to fill that will actually bring excitement and learning for you? So that would be the challenge of the S curve. And I want you to think through that idea of where you are on the S curve. Are you growing? Are you on that backside of the curve that's the sweet spot where I'm constantly learning new skills as a student leader and I'm really growing? Or am I just a brand new student leader and I'm very excited and I'm having to ask a lot of questions to figure out how to do this, but I'm excited for what I'm doing? Or are you at the top where I'm an upperclassman, I've been a student leader all these years, and I'm reaching this point where I'm starting to just do this with my eyes closed? If you are up at that point, I want to challenge you to disrupt that comfort zone. There's never a better time than your last couple years of being a student leader at a university where you have mentors right there with you, walking with you, challenging you, when you have other students that live with you that are challenging you to be better and to grow. There's never a better time to say, I'm going to disrupt all of my comfort zone so that I can challenge myself to stretch myself and become better at what I do. So I want to challenge you. If you're at that top of the S curve and that mastery level where I'm doing this job with my eyes closed, what would it look like for you to challenge yourself and disrupt that comfort zone so that you can leave a better legacy at your university? So, in order to do that, I'm going to give you 3 takeaways, literal takeaways, so that you can leave a better legacy and leave a legacy at all at the university where you are. The 3 things I want you to take. I want you to, first of all, take ownership. Take ownership of your position, of your university. Innovative things and innovative leaders are the ones who basically take big risks and say, hey, this is my place. This is my organization. This is my team. And because it's my team, I want the very best for it. So take ownership of your university. Say, like, I want the best for this school. I want the best for this university. I want the best for the team that I'm at because this is my team. And if you have shared ownership of your team, of your university as a mindset, if you take the mindset of it, you actually have a love for that place. And that love is going to drive you to finish strong because you want the very best for your place. Set a higher standard for yourself than you came into this year with. What is your high standard that of what you want to leave because this is your place. This belongs to you. Take ownership. Another thing I want you to take big risks this year. Take big risks, especially if you're a senior. What do you have to lose? Take big risks, create big ideas, bring big ideas that we've never seen before at your university that seem crazy and seem like it'll never work. I've been here for 3 years, it'll never work here. Take a risk, at least bring the idea to the table, throw it out on the table, even if it sounds crazy. My favorite ideas in creating programs are the crazy ones that seem like, where did you even come up with that? Take a big risk, throw it out there. Have a value for yourself for the unknown. You have a value for what you've learned, but those are all things that you already know. But have a value for what could we do? What could we create that we've never seen before here? Take a big risk, value the change, take a value, and take a risk. The last thing I want you to take new challenges into this last year or these last couple years as a student leader. Don't avoid challenge, seek it out. Don't avoid the challenges and just kind of fade away, but actually go seek out a challenge. What can I do this year to challenge myself to be better than I was before, or to take a new ownership, to maybe even jump the curve entirely to a new curve, and I could even finish by learning something brand new and challenge myself to step in to a little bit more. Stretch yourself, finish strong, and have a full send on this last year. Don't just fade away. Student leaders do not get to just fade out and retire. Take a big risk, jump the curve if you need to, take on a new challenge that you've never taken on before so that you can actually finish strong and leave a legacy on your university. That's all for me. I'm going to jump on and we're going to have a good conversation. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them in the time that we have together. And then if we don't get to your question and you have another question, please write down my information here and get back in touch with me and ask questions later. I'm happy to answer those and to engage with you. All right, that is all. We'll see you in a minute.